Hello there. So what's this about the London Mayor Sadiq Khan and cheese? All very odd. But is there something else behind this? OK, I know, Sadiq Khan hasn't actually banned cheese, but he has banned cheese adverts going up on Transport for London vehicles and its real estate like train stations. And that leads me to suspect that Khan would actually like to see a cheese ban. Or at least one of his minions has brought this about. But if Boris Johnson can be found guilty for other people's transgressions because he should have known, then the buck stops with Sadiq Khan over this one, in exactly the same way. Now what happened was that a service provider wanted to advertise with TfL, and one of their customers who obviously use their services is an artisan cheesemaker called Cheese Geek. So they duly used an image of Cheese Geek's product as part of their advert. And the TfL busybodies refused to accept the image because it promoted what they said was unhealthy food. Cue much criticism of Khan and his team, with comments of them not understanding the nutritional value of cheese with all its calcium and vitamin B12, etc., as well as accusations of going well over the top in this ever more nannying state. But is it nanny state? If it was Khan trying to regulate our diets, he would not allow all those fast food and fizzy drink outlets in train and underground stations, would he? Despite having also rejected a wedding cake picture on an advert. Or was the problem there the wedding? Anyway, he would not also let alcohol be advertised on TfL estate, would he? But it is. So surely there must be some other driver to this cheese thing. Now he has also put a ban on fast food advertising to try and drive down childhood obesity, so there is a link there. But one thing fast foods do contain a lot of is cheese and meats, specifically pork and beef. So I think that is the real connection. Because right now there is a worldwide push by the likes of the WEF and the UN for us to eat far less beef and drink far less milk. If we did that, then we would need fewer livestock. That means fewer methane emissions. Planet saved as far as the eco-mob are concerned. And Greenpeace wants to see a 70% reduction in meat and dairy. The trouble here, though, is that this has spectacularly backfired on Khan, because the story is splashed all over the Times and will find itself into the rest of the press as the day goes on. And this has been free advertising for Cheese Geek. People across the country who've never heard of Cheese Geek are now saying they'll give them a try. In fact, I would bet this has given them far more publicity than a full-on paid advertising campaign. Khan would have been better advised to let the ad run, and no one would have been any the wiser. After all, it was an ad for a service provider, not directly for Cheese Geek. Anyway, we now know there's a big push on to make agriculture more green. And the world's largest agricultural supplier behind the USA is the Netherlands, where they are trying to force a swathe of farmers out of business permanently, never to work as farmers in the European Union ever again. And part of that is significantly reducing the number of cattle. And the same sort of thing is happening in Ireland too. And in the UK, the number of cattle has been dropping steadily every year, with 10.6 million head in 2005 down to 9.45 million in 2021. And it's all about reducing methane emissions from the rear end of these creatures. And what the WEF and the UN, who seem to now lead the agenda of our government, wants to see is everyone eating pulses, fruits and bugs, with a side order of Frankenstein foods like fake meat and, yes, fake milk. anything but the real thing. And these fake meats and milks are made inside factories made out of gooey gunk, magicked up in laboratories by our planet-saving scientists. But you can bet your bottom dollar that sirloin steaks and legs of lamb will still be in plenty of supply for the global elites. After all, they need all the protein, sustenance and energy they can get as they jet around the place and get chauffeured from one opulent setting to the next, lecturing us on how we should not travel or eat natural meat. The trouble for these eco-loons who think eating meat is bad for us is that the concept of Frankenstein meats and eating dung beetles hasn't caught on like the wildfire they thought it would. For some reason, fake meats are loss makers and bug eating has been rejected, despite the efforts to get school kids to eat the stuff. So the next move is, of course, to label those foods as unhealthy. Talk about red meat causing cancer or cheese being bad for you. All to try and drive down demand. Less demand, less livestock needed, of course, and less emissions. Now let's hear what the World Economic Forum themselves say about convincing people to eat less meat. They used nudge theory techniques to push people in a controlled test towards choosing what they say is a healthier diet, i.e. less meat. The results from the trial show a dramatic rise in the selection of non-meat options by those who were nudged to make healthier and more sustainable choices. And the nudges came from prompts on the menu. Here's a couple of those prompts. You will be surprised how much positive impact plant-based food can have on both the planet and your health. Choose plant-based dishes to lower your carbon footprint and improve nutrition. It's about goodness for you and the planet. And 90% of Americans are making the change to eat less meat. Join this growing movement and choose plant-based dishes that have less impact on the climate and are kinder to the planet. So expect to see that sort of thing on menus going forwards. It will probably end up as a legal requirement. Now it sounds to me like these WEF types would have supported the mass destruction of the bison herds all those years ago, where the number was reduced from between 30 and 60 million down to 325 in 1884. The number has now recovered a bit to the region of 500,000. Now the country with the largest number of cattle is India, where the cow is sacred. They have 308 million of them, increasing slowly every year. And the global cattle population is about 1 billion. So if we don't eat them, do we let them run wild and multiply as in India? Or is it mass culling time? And if the numbers keep growing in India, will we have to force them to cull their sacred cattle in the end? But I doubt anyone in the UK will be asking such questions because the mainstream press ensures the right message gets to the people. The message that the UK has to be at the forefront of all things green and planet-saving, even if it costs us our economy, our jobs, and even leads to malnutrition. And as to Khan and his cheese ad ban, it's backfired, mate. And before you hurt the poor by driving them out of their cars, it's the air quality in the underground that needs a health warning slapped on it.